Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Tactics series. So, today we're going to be looking at VfB Stuttgart and Sebastian Hoeneß, the current manager. So, I've had a little trouble with this. It's not worked totally how I intended to. I've had some issues when it comes to getting the 4-2-3-1 to work, but I've gotten the 4-4-2 version of it to work. That's the one I'm going to show to you guys today. I think this is the one that's had the most success. We'll see about some of the other, we'll talk about some of the other stuff, but yeah, this is kind of the best one. I think the main issue, in my opinion, comes from the system that is based around their mid-block, and the way they defend in their mid-block is where I've found a lot of issues coming from, as well as the possession sense of it. But with that being said, I like the look of it. I think it matches really well. I like how this looks, especially compared to some of the game I watched earlier today, which is Stuttgart versus Darmstadt. Crazy game, by the way. I had 20 minutes of added time. But yeah, I think the team married it really well. I think 4-4-2 is kind of easier to do because you get the mid-block right and you get the main form of attack right in their 2-4-4 build shape. So I think it helps you more than anything else. It kind of works better in that way. So it's not 100% perfect, but I think this kind of gives you better what you want from FM rather than the 10, having a 10 in there instead of 2 9s. So we'll talk about it. It looks like this. This is our tactics, 4-4-2. These are the roles and everything like that. We'll talk about it more when we get into the tactics. But yeah, this is pretty much what it is. The team's been amazing, flying high up in the Bundesliga right now. They're just doing incredible. Another win today, even with the red card, which is always impressive. But yeah, they've been pounding in the goals. They've had a striker, Grassi, who's been amazing, and I'm really impressed with Hoeneß. I really like some of the ideas he has and the way the team does stuff. So yeah, we'll take a look at it. We'll talk about things. We'll go through the tactics first, then we'll show some stuff. Again, still don't have Y-Scout allotment left. I used all of it up, so I'm going to try to find some pictures or other things like that from real-life footage that will be useful and that. But yeah, let's get into things, talk tactics, talk how the team did, all that fun stuff like that, and we will then get into the tactic itself. So let's roll the intro, get everything going, and I'll get started. Guys, it's time to talk the tactics of Stuttgart. So, Hoeneß is honestly a very inexperienced manager. Now, he may not be the most experienced in terms of tons of high-level jobs, but he's had a long career as a youth coach, as well as he's had a few jobs before this. So, mainly his two big jobs have kind of been Bayern's second team as well as Hoffenheim's first team. They've been the two big ones that have mainly been what he's known for. Now, Bayern's second team was really, really impressive. 2019-2020 season, he did so well that Hoffenheim actually poached him and gave him the job there. Now, he did all right, but after the first season expectations of Europe after his first season, expectations for Europe fell through and he was sacked. Now, the transition didn't really particularly work too well because he changed to playing a 3 system from the 4, and it didn't always particularly, his style didn't totally transfer over correctly between the two, and it just didn't kind of work out. It wasn't a good fit. Now, though, last season he was hired by Stuttgart with 8 games left, and they were in the relegation zone. They weren't in promotion play. They weren't in the relegation playoff, but they were in the relegation zone. So he does well enough, gets them into the promotion playoff, and he gets them turned around, and they stay in the division. And that was mainly playing a 3 at the back system. So he usually played 3 then. Now, though, throughout the summer, he's changed back to kind of the 4 system that he plays. So he's mainly using now this season 4-2-3-1 and 4-4-2. Those two formations have taken up over 70% of all starting 11s this season so far. And with that change, he's become much more possession-based, and his team is honestly a possession monster. They possess the ball so heavily, they are really good at changing tempo, really good at possessing the ball in certain areas of the pitch, and they're just honestly incredible with it. And it's been so interesting to see, and it's led to them flying up the divisions. Flying up the spaces, not the divisions. They're sitting now in 3rd place, done amazing. So far, it's really just nice to see. They score a lot of goals. They do concede a fair few too, but it's an interesting system. It's not the most perfect thing. Doesn't always work correctly every game, but it's a lot of cool stuff, and it's really interesting to see. I quite like how, depending on the 10, it changes how it plays. I've mainly done this off having Undav and Girassi up front, as that's kind of the games that I was able to watch a little more. It's most of the games I've been able to watch since Y-Scout isn't available to me since I used it up. I can only look at stats. So that's the one I watched the full game through. So that's kind of how I based off of it. I'm sure in Mille the changes slightly when he's at the 10. He's more of a 10, actually, and I'll talk a little bit about that from some of the clips that I got to see where he played. But it's really interesting the way that the team does this, and even the way that he presses and does things. But the thing about Hoeneß is he likes to create stuff in various ways. So he's not set on having his team just play in the classical style, and you can see that from the way the team is. He's got an inverted winger on one side, he's got a winger on the other, he's got two guys that pretty much play as forwards, but also one that drops in and the other that'll drop in and stuff. So there's a lot that happens where it's not always a conventional style system. And this is really useful to him because it makes it difficult to do. Now, the team itself usually averages only around 50% of the possession, so decent control in that sense. But mainly when the team does like to build and play, you'll see this 2-4-4 shape, which is pretty common, but really it's not even 2-4, it's a 3-4-4, because the goalkeeper is super keen in possession. And so this is mainly the shape that you will see and you'll start to recognize with this team. That's mainly the one that you need to focus on, because that's how you're going to see them play most heavily, is in this shape here. Now with this shape, usually you'll see Stiller deeper, Karazor slightly higher, and Fulric, I can't say his name right, he'll be tucked in a little more, and then usually Undav pushes higher up here, kind of next to Guirassy, kind of like this. And you have a shape that looks like this. Kind of how the 2-4-4 looks. So it's, these guys are staggered, these a little deeper than him, he kind of tucks in, he's like slightly higher. So it's this kind of like wonky 3-4-4 kind of shape. It's the 2-4-4 really, but it's the 3 with the goalkeeper. So it's this kind of wonky shape like this. But because of this, it helps them a lot in possession. It creates different angles and different abilities, and it gives certain people space where others don't have it. And that's a big thing you'll see. Because of the lopsidedness and not always perfectness of the way the team is designed, it allows for different types of variation in possession. And when you change players, you'll see different things adjust. Say, this is how it is with Undav, but if otherwise around, you might see Guirassy stay a little tired. Mille will kind of sit in this space here instead. He'll slightly sit deeper. He'll sit a little wider, so there's now a bit more of a deeper passing lane to be seen. When they're up against teams that defend deeper, the two will play a lot higher. He'll tuck in a little more. He might step a little higher. He might step a little higher. And the wingbacks push higher as well. So you'll see more of something like that. So you might even see like a 3-3-3-2 or something along those lines. Things will adjust and change based off the opposition a lot more, and the team is keen to do that. They will slightly adjust the way they play with that based off the personnel on the pitch, but also the way they want to build. And it's a kind of an interesting factor, this team, which is tough to design in FM, because again, the position literally changes. You'll see Undav playing more as a 9 in the game, while Mille plays more as the 10. So it's hard to do that correctly in FM without having issues. So just something to consider. But with the team, possession is mainly, there's two types of the game when it comes to possessing the ball for this team. One is deeper possession in their own half, and the other is possession in the opposing half. Now, this can really be talked about by the tempo of either area. The team has two distinct tempos when it comes to possessing the ball in either parts of the pitch. Now, when they're back here, they will take their time. And oh my god, they will take their time. You will see Stuttgart pass the ball around, hold on to it, maybe dribble a little bit, pass it back. Dribble a little, take a touch, pass it back. If you are not pressuring them, they will not bother with, like, trying to go quick. They will take their time. They will take their time, wait for you to press, wait for someone to become open before threading that ball to them. They are really keen on doing this because they don't want to play into your hands. They want you to play into their hands. So they're playing that kind of bait game by going, hey, you don't want to press me here? Okay, that's fine. Oh, you want to press me? I'll play it to this guy. Do you want to press him? Yes, no, maybe so. Then they'll play it to the next guy. They'll also use the keeper as well, because he adds a numbers up advantage there too, where they usually will always have one player free. And you'll see it too, where teams will come and mark these guys. They'll mark these four here, forcing a long ball clipped like this, or like this out wide to a player, where it's a bit more of a 50-50. And because of that, when those teams sit off, so like, here we can just do this. So they're covering these guys here like this, and the goalkeeper's in possession, right? So they have everyone covered here. They're like baiting these. You'll see Guirassy usually on the, sorry, wrong player. See Guirassy usually on the left, go over like this, then the winger kind of tucks in, and you'll see them become like this shape mainly. It's mainly Guirassy. He'll go kind of like this, and then they'll ask for the ball to be played over here, or the 10 will kind of sit centrally, and they'll try to create a central ball down the middle there, where usually this guy tucks in, because then there's the opportunities to pass into these spaces for a run here, or he'll run with an arced run in the center, and he'll go down the wing. It kind of depends on how these two are oriented for the run, but usually this run is able to be done if they can get that straight ball through the center. And if you watch the Darmstadt game, which I was watching earlier today, you'll see them try it a few times. The keeper actually does try to play this direct ball through the middle to the player in that 10 position, which was Guirassy at times or Undav, where they're trying to pick up the ball after the high press, and this is like a ball on the ground or just a little clipped pass through the middle. But teams will sit off and force the goalkeeper to be in possession. Now, it's a good or a bad move. You can take your pick. How depends on how you want to defend. But it's something that plays into their hands because they're not going to rush this pass. He will take a step. He'll wait, because if this guy goes, he can go, and now they're through their press a bit. Now this guy's out of position. He's been bypassed by a pass. So they're willing to wait for someone to step out, to be overly aggressive, to think he has something, to get through them in the back. And you'll even see it. Let me move these guys out of the way so I can readjust. You'll even see it when Stuttgart have the ball in the other half too. So say they're higher up here like this. They're trying to attack a bit. These guys are together like this. Oh my God! Can I drag the player? So the keeper will probably be around here. If they get it, and like say this pass is played back here, and they have pressure coming at them, like there's a guy here, say like this. So he's gone past him, pressing wise, and someone like this. This guy's willing to go all the way back here, and this guy can pressure. And then these guys will drop. They'll drop with. They'll drop in like this. These guys will start dropping back and helping in possession. And you'll see that 3-3 shape kind of create again, and maybe even the 3-4 shape. And you'll see this happen a lot with the team. They're willing to drop back and maintain possession, and they'll take their time. They're not going to risk it because they want to take the time to create the right opening. It's not a rush to always make sure, hey, we need the ball, we need to rush through the opposition. It's taking their time, possessing the ball in the back, and finding that right ability to play through someone like that. And you'll see the 2-3, in this scenario, the 2-3 and a 2-3 shape get created. Sorry, what am I saying? Yeah, sorry, 2-3 shape get created. You'll see this. You'll see this kind of get created here. And it will happen where you have that, or sometimes it'll be this and this. There'll be the interchange. But you'll see that happen as well, where you have that shape kind of become a thing of them dropping in, creating the wide angles to play out wide, and forcing the team then to spread out wide. Because they also spread it like this, it's harder for them to be pressed. Because now they're having to go wide, they're having to choose who they want to pick, and it gives them more room and more space to play through and do that stuff. And you'll see that happen a lot. On top of that, Stiller is a 6, and he loves to drop in and be this kind of link player. You'll even see oh my God, the 8, the Carivore. I'm sorry, so bad with these names. He'll even drop in at times to create a double pivot to make it even harder to do. But sometimes it'll just be Stiller, and he'll be higher with the 10 dropping in, or Guirassy slightly dropped in a bit with the other player pushing the line. So then you kind of have almost like a staggered line of people too. So you'll see that happen a lot as well. But they're big on building from the back. They also do like to play direct balls into the channels. So if they are, say, building down this wing here, and these guys have all kind of tucked over here, they're all kind of slid over to the side, and say defenders are set up like this. So they're kind of set up more like along the line like this, kind of he's like this. They will try to play a pass like so. They will try to play this pass. They are very willing to play that pass too. And you'll mainly see it from the fullbacks. It's pretty common for them where that pass is played. It's common. Sometimes the players over here will make, the wingers will make them too. But it's not uncommon to see the fullback rip one across the field like this, trying to get it to the opposite-sided winger. You'll see it. So it does occur where they look for those passes because they're building up. They'll clump over to one side a little bit. And sometimes they will have that opportunity because the winger stays high and wide. The one on the left doesn't as much. The one on the right really stays wide, so there's a lot more room to drive into. So you can usually do it there, which is what mainly, I would say, occurs a lot more. So that's another scenario that they do. Now, when it comes to the edge of the box and defending from those areas, the team is slightly different. So that's kind of how they build to get forwards. They do that stuff. They're big on getting attacking presence forwards. So he likes to obviously overwhelm the opposition. If you haven't figured that out from some of the things I've said so far, where they bring players back or they shift them wide to create more opportunities to play, they're pretty keen on doing that. So they do like to do that. And one of the big things they do with that is the runs forward from the midfield, which, if you couldn't figure out, of having Undav play almost as an extra 9 while being that 10, makes that kind of occur, where they almost look like a 4-4-2, even though they're listed as a 4-2-3-1. So he doesn't particularly care too much, even if, like, he doesn't care overly the same thing if the team changes the way they build up each game. He's not always concerned about the build up being the exact same. It can be slightly different, of like he does that with the 2, he does it with the 1. Like, it's not always has to be the same, but the big thing that he does want to be the same is these runs from the players forwards. That's really keen. And it's these 4 guys getting them forwards, with these 2 kind of being the trailers that are really key to him, right? And these 2 providing even more auxiliary support. That's kind of the big thing there. And it's one of the things he wants to see from these players getting forwards, because it's keen on pinning the opposing team back. And having these 4 guys go get high and be like a 4 in that 2-4-4 shape does really big wonders to the way the team plays. Because if you have 4 guys high like this in the attack, right, pushing forwards, they pin back the defense. And they cause problems where if you can get the ball and bypass 2 players like this, guess what? You now have a 5v4 against their back 4. Your number's up. So it's really keen to get these numbers forwards, because it's not that it has to be the same way to get it forwards, but if he can get it where these guys are high in this 2-4-4 shape and he has them pinned up against them, it's really, really crucial. So so one of the things in the final third that he's really keen on is having players in the box or around the box. You'll see both of these guys kind of in and around the box. They're kind of hovering around here. You'll see the defense kind of trying to deal with that. Usually they'll back up into the box. You'll see either of these guys providing width, depending on if the ball. So say we'll have the ball on the right side here, right? Because it's easier for me. He will be tucking in. He'll be tucked in like this. Usually this fullback will kind of be here. You'll have the 6 kind of around here. This guy will be closer to the edge of the box, more like an opportunity like this. You'll have this wing back up with the guy here supporting him. You have the ball-winning midfielder like this. You kind of have the other one like this. In essence, if this wing back goes, the other one stays, and you get a back 3 created. And the keeper will probably be a little higher like this. So we'll say they've got guys on the edge of the box defending, whatever like that. But this is going to pull people out, right? So they're going to have to then have defending with less people in the box, or they're going to have to drop in a midfielder. Or maybe they have to pull one out, and he has to come with as well. And then the winger has to come and defend as well. So that it's going to pull people out of position and make it difficult for them. Because they're going to push 2 guys out wide and have support, you have to have someone cutting off the support, someone dealing with these 2 people. And again, it pulls more people out of the box and pins them deeper, so that if they do sit off like this and are like, all right, we're just going to wait, they can now pass lanes like this. They can pass around, go like, because he comes here, they can get to him, then he's got another option here. And that's the big thing. They're going to pass it around like that and get it into those areas where the defense is forced to make a decision on what they want to do. Do they want to step? Do they not? So say they get it like this and they're just holding off all the lanes. Guess what? They're going to cross, because they got 2 guys in Undav and Gerassi who are big boys. They are not easy to deal with in the air. They are strong headers of the ball. They are large guys that are not fun to have to deal with. They will head the ball down. They will cause problems. And you'll even see sometimes, if the defense is really sitting deep, you'll see the strikers, either of them, pull off to the edge of the box like this. These guys will sit a little deeper, and they will play it into here. They might play the ball to them. He'll turn and rip a shot at goal as well. They'll do it. They're willing to drop off. One of them will usually drop off. The other will sit and rip a shot at goal, which is not uncommon as well. The other thing, too, is if the defense is sitting off like this, and maybe they have a little bit of pressure, these 2 will definitely willing to work it through, say a ball like that, and this guy drives to the line. He'll drive to the line and then try for a cutback as well. They're happy to try to create something with this side as well before getting the cross in. Or even maybe he'll play it, he'll create an overlap, he can get over, and boom, cross it in. So the team is pretty keen on creating those scenarios there where they can, in essence, create attacking opportunities by having overloads in the box, pinning people deep, having the proper structure. If the ball goes backwards, they have these three guys where they can position themselves correctly to help assist. They have two center mids in a good area so that they have the opportunity to do things and be able to control the ball. They have the goalkeeper who's really keen in possession back there to help assist as well. And it's just a really good ability to retain possession and keep the ball moving, because these guys pin back mean that these guys all forwards means they pin the defense back. These guys back means they're covered well for the counterattack. And these guys on the edge mean they're able to recycle possession and shift it wide, because say, all right, boom, it's over here now, it's over here. Guess what? Drifts out wide. Now you've got a 2. Maybe there's a lot of space because they're slow to get out to you. Now you have a crossing opportunity of him coming in on the back post. He tucks in, he tucks over here, and boom, you have your team reshuffled really easily. Because the second that ball goes to the other side of the pitch, it's easy for them to reshuffle. It's not a hard thing where there's like, you're stuck with 2. No, it's easy. He can just tuck in now. He's an opportunity on the back post. Now the whole team has to shuffle over, right? And it makes it harder and more difficult to adjust. And you hopefully get a free cross off where you can drive to the line and cut it back. So those are things you'll see a lot more. It's difficult to deal with. The other thing to mention is that this guy, the Chris Fulrich, will drive down and shoot too. He's happy to pull up here and whip one at goal. So it's not uncommon you'll see him shoot from this area, driving in and doing that as well. You like to drive inside as an inverted winger and do those things. So that's pretty keen on some of the attack and some of the presence they like to have in the box. Now, the other thing that's quite keen, the team is quite keen on, is their mid-block defensive style. So this is really important to the way the team plays, and this is a very crucial thing into how Hoeneß likes to defend. It's interesting to some managers, to compare to some people, but it's very important in what the team does defensively. And that is a man-mark a mixed marking system in the press. So they have a mid-block here. Let's move these guys a little higher up, because that's probably where the mid-block's going to be. Sorry, if I only had magical things where I could move this a lot faster. So 7, 4, 5. Say 6 is in between. Sorry, everyone. Boom. So, these are the man marks that are created, right? So it's, I'll do it with a circle. It's this group, this group, this group, and this group, right? Those are the ones that are created. So the ball will be there. These guys will do their best to screen off these passes, right? They'll be there to screen, okay? So he's ready to go. He's kind of on this guy stopping him. He's on him here. He's cutting off this pass. Got it? So this guy's in possession of the ball. He's not ready to go to him. Okay. So he's not going to be going just yet, but he's going to be kind of sitting off like that, right? So they're going to have this covered. They're going to deal with these two guys here. They'll kind of stagger a little bit at times to deal with that. But he'll be waiting here. He won't press, but he'll kind of sit off waiting to see. He'll be kind of in between here, waiting to see what's going to happen. And they'll be like, hey, we're cutting off your pass into the middle. We're saying you, here's a wide option. You can go wide. We're totally happy for you to play this ball because we're going to leave him open. But the second this pass is played, it's in motion, he goes and he presses heavily because he wants to force him backwards. He wants to force him back, force the ball to go here, which means then he can press because he's baiting on it. He can start pressing him. He then holds off here, so he's then coming across this way again. You're going to press here because this guy's going to step here and kill off this pass. He then this guy may drop. He won't really go. The ball goes wide. As it goes wide, boom, he presses. And the whole point is they want to press, is they want to force it backwards. Once they continue this, they want to force this backwards to the keeper, who then is going to have someone usually pressing against him, and they'll step the numbers high up again. So they'll step numbers high, and they'll kind of maybe tuck in. So he might tuck in and press here. He'll press here. And they want to force a long, dangerous pass like this, or a long ball into their half where they can win the ball. And that's what they're looking to do. They want to be really kind of stationary in their press, hold off in the mid-block, holding off on the scenario, and then the moment they can start pressing higher and forcing the opposition deeper, they'll keep pressing and pressing and pressing, trying to force you to turn over. And if these guys keep dropping off, guess what they're coming with? These guys are all coming with. They're not going to stay in the mid-block shape. They're happy to keep going with and pressing continuously to force this turnover or long ball, because think about it. If they're playing this like pass out wide here, right? So they're sitting in their mid-block shape, and they're like this, kind of doing their thing. And so this passes, so it goes out wide here, he presses, he plays inside, he's pressing, it goes one more, he's pressing, and this pass is played, and it's short, and he picks it off. Boom, he's driving in. Now look at all the numbers you've got. You've got two guys who are going to be on their back feet and two guys on their front foot now driving towards goal. It's an easy cut back, and it's a goal. So that's the thing. They want to force that because it's an easy turnover out wide, or they want to force you deeper where they're going to kick the long ball or kick things away, and it's so easy to get it. And that's kind of the whole thing, is they want to do that stuff so that you're out of position, you're off balance, you're not in a comfortable area, and you can see a corner, can see a throw in, or punt it long, and it's an easy ball for them in the air to win, and they have possession again and can keep playing in their game. So that's just a bit of a look at the mid-block, at the build-out, at the attacking presence that Stuttgart have with the team, the key parts to that kind of defensive shape. When they do defend really deep, it's 4-4-2, or even a 4-1-4-1. I'm sorry, a 4-4-1-1, or a 4-1-4-1 at times as well. But even when they're defending deep, they will have everybody... Actually, no, let's a quick little talk about that. Even when they're defending deep like this, I hate how that doesn't remove that stuff. So say they're defending deep like this on the wing, right? So they've got some bodies in the box. There's guys over here. If they have support like this, they will, if the ball's out wide here, he will be on him. He will be trying to cut it. He'll be on him because they're obviously still doing it. He will try to cut this ball off into the middle, right? So center mid here will stop this ball from getting into the middle of the pitch. Don't worry about any of these people, by the way. He will try to stop this ball from getting to the center of the pitch if he has it. He will try to cut this off and force them to continue playing out wide, because that's what they want to do. They don't want you to get in the central area. They want to keep the ball forced wide so it's much harder for you to attack them. And you have to try to do these deep crosses or crosses from areas where they can get their guys who are big headers of the ball, really strong in the air, so they can head it out and then attack you from there and counter you where you've left spaces in behind and gaps where they can attack with a lot of their force and midfielders with deep runs. So, little extra bit I should have explained before, but that's kind of what we're talking about in terms of the way the team defends, the way the team does all this stuff. Really intelligent, really nice coaching from the team. You can see a lot of these rotations. It looks really nice to see. And yeah, it's lovely, well done by the side. So we'll look at a few FM clips, and then we'll talk about the tactic itself in FM and see how it did and all that stuff. All right, guys, here's a great example of one of the goals they scored. So this is based off around playing the ball out wide and getting it down the... Oh, it's on medium already. Getting it down the wing. So I'll zoom in slightly. So you can see here the center back, Anton, has it. So he's played it into the center mid, Karazor, who's shifted. And you can see Stiller there, as I was talking about. So you get that 3. And Ito's a little too far wide. You want him kind of more slightly here. But Karazor's in that spot. You've got Vagaman here. You got the winger here. You have the striker here, the other striker, and the other winger. So they're all pushing the line back. So now they get it here. Play it wide, and you can see them. Undavid made a run. You now see Garassi making a run. You now see Frucht making a run. They all start going. You see them all start moving, pushing the line back. Young gets it, and boom, crossed Undav, who's broken ahead of his man, and it's a goal. Exactly what we're talking about in terms of they work it down that right side, get that cross in, and boom, easy tap in for Undav, and that's the goal. Alright guys, so here's a perfect example of how the build-out works. So you can see here, you can see the lines. Remember how I told you there's that staggered line of these two? So that Karazor and Stiller, that should be swapped. Again, I also don't know if they did it the right way, but that's normally supposed to be different. Stiller you want there, Karazor on higher, but you can see the 3-4-4, just like we talked about, remember? So you can see here it builds out, goes to the center back, because that's where the pressure is, right? Remember we talked about how we don't want to go into the pressure, we want to go into those open spaces. Because the keeper can be used, it creates an open opportunity there. So now you see Stiller dropping in, he's now occupied this defender, so this guy's now stuck. Manu has to either go or stay with Stiller, he's stuck in that option. Zagadou decides to go forwards now, because Manu's in between, Stiller's in space, people press, now there's that opening. Remember we talked about that. They wait and take their time, because they took their time, this guy stepped to Stiller, now Stiller's got an open pass to Ito, and Ito's in space. Now Ito plays that progressive pass, now Frucht has room to run into in the middle here, and guess what? Karazor is now open because people are stepping. Girassi drops in, as we talked about. He gets Karazor again, who carries the ball forwards, goes into the wide area where there's support. Look, he's happy to go back. Anton takes his time, finds Karazor again. Karazor can't counter, back to Zagadou. And look, now it's pulled this guy forwards. Look at the open space out here for Ito. Karazor gets to Girassi. Look at that. Now that guy pulled wide to Ito, but there was space for Fork to get into. He can drive forwards, finds Ito in even more space, and now he can slide the ball to the back post for Undav to score. How about that? The build-out perfectly moving forward, keeping the shape and everything like that. I mean, we can even go back a bit here and still see. You've got kind of that 3. You've got the 1, 2, almost. You got the 1, 2, 3, 4. You got the 1, 2, 3 kind of there. You got the 3 there as well. But you have that system of those lines of it. Just exactly what we were talking about, which is perfect to see. So here's an example I want to talk about in terms of the way the mid-block worked, in terms of encouraging that wide pass into pressure so that you can be stolen. So if you watch here, Gladbach have the ball out here on this side, right? So you have Girassi pressing here, Undav pressing here because the ball's out wide, and you have Karazor pressing there. You also have, where is he? Vogt covering their player there, right? So he's cut off that pass there. He's got to go into these guys in the middle here. You also have Silas kind of waiting for that ball possibly into Helvetti. So Wolf plays it to Vober. You can see Silas holding off, not ready to go. Remember we talked about keeping that distance, but these guys staying tight. They stay tight, it's keeping that distance, waiting for a pass. Wober into Kone now, and Kone is getting pressed by Girassi because he's in this middle area. We're looking to force the ball wide. Silas still kind of waiting. Easy pass. Silas snags it there. Now look, we can attack. Silas gets it. Undav makes a great run. He's onside. He's in. Boom. Goal. Exactly what I was talking about with the mid-block, forcing that ball wide, looking to get it in that area, that middle area where that wide pass comes from, and it's an easy goal for Stuttgart. So we've chatted about everything, and this is how the team has done. Overall, pretty decent, I'd say. Undav had the most goals in the end. The team itself was pretty up and down each month. It's a pretty mixed bag of results in terms of how they played and what they did, but not the worst. They got hammered a bit here and there, but they did put up some good fights. They struggled defensively, but attack they were pretty good as well. So it was kind of one of those stories where 5th best attack, 3rd worst in defense. I don't think the defensive way that they do in real life doesn't translate to FM right. But they scored a lot of goals, which was the big thing. So that worked out well. But as you can see, the main people, Grassi getting the best average rating, Frucht getting the most assists. He's been that guy in real life, and Undav getting a lot of goals. So the big thing is we're getting the right players in terms of the ones that we want to score goals and we want from them. So Grassi and Undav with the most goals. They had a few assists here and there, but Fulreich, or I don't need to say his name, Fulreich getting on the 5 goals, 9 assists, which is pretty similar to what he has in real life. Silas on the other wing getting a fair share of a mix of each. Same with Hu Young, who, again, similar role on that side. And then you also have the kind of like the center mids picking up some stuff here and there, and the backup strikers, who didn't play much at all. But, yeah, that's kind of that. And you also had fullbacks getting a few assists here and there. But, yeah, mainly it's the main people that got the goals and the assists. And that's what we want to see because that's what the important thing is. They're the ones that we're mainly expecting to get those things for us and do that stuff. So it's good to see we have those people in those roles doing those things. It's the most important bit. We want to mirror real life, and we've done that perfectly. So love that. Love to see it. Competition-wise, they got knocked out in the first round, which is annoying. But again, they did okay. I mean, the -4 goals, for instance, isn't great. But there's good stuff here. There's good stuff, in my opinion, in terms of how that all worked. Obviously, we've seen some of the goals they scored very similar to what we want to see from real life. The other thing, too, to look at is possession, as that is something the team matters about. 53% of the possession, so slightly above average. I couldn't really get it to work perfectly, but we also do look at it in some games, like, say, against Bremen, 54%. You had some, like, say, against Heidenheim, we're up in the 60s, which is what we want to see from them. But against Bayern, not as much because of that. So overall, it's pretty good in terms of what we want to see. Again, not the best. I mean, 52%. I want them to take hold of it more, but this time not as much either. But the issue I have with FM in terms of the way I'm trying to rebuild these is that So you cannot adjust the tempo in certain parts of the pitch, and that's one thing that we talked about earlier. They're really big on changing the tempo based off where they're on the pitch. And that makes it difficult because I cannot say to the game, hey, have the tempo in our own half be really slow, but then the other half be really fast. And we tried to do that with one setting, but it just doesn't work great. So it's kind of an issue with that, but let's get into the actual tactic itself now, because there really isn't much to talk about with that. We've talked at the beginning bit, and I kind of went long in terms of the analysis section. But it's a 4-4-2. And it is set up with just the across the midfield line, not higher. Everyone, 3 lines, that's how it is. So, in goal, you have a sweeper keeper on attack. This is the Newell's role. Take more risks and dribble more. This is because, as we talked about, when in the back, you'll see them pass back to the keeper, even higher when he's higher with pitch or deeper. He'll hold on to the ball. He'll take touches. He'll wait for stuff to come open. He'll wait for those things. So, sweeper keeper on attack, take more time, dribble more, take more risks, exactly what we want. He's another player in possession. Wingbacks on support on the right, stay wider, tackle harder, and mark specific position. Now remember, what we talked about in the 4-4-2 mid block is that they're really, really key on the fullbacks marking the opposition wingers or opposition wide players. Or right mid or whatever you want to, in the formation, whatever it is. So that's marking the specific position. I have him set to mark a winger because those are pretty common in terms of the FM, but again, it didn't always work right. But yeah, he's marking that position. So the left wing, the left-sided player, left-sided wing back on support, same exact role with the same exact thing of stay wider, tackle harder, mark specific position. Same exact thing, marking the guy on the right. So there's that. But say if you come up against a team, this is something you have to set every single game. So you have to reset it every single game. If they're coming and this team has a wide player here, you have them mark this or you have them mark this. If they have interior players, take it off and just leave it on one of these two based off what you think that team will do. And then if they create that change in the game, you'll then be set to deal with it. But if they're playing narrow guys, do not have them come out of the wide areas. You want them to stay there. But just make sure they don't get pulled too far because you want them narrowly in. Also, again, you can do that here. You can set trigger press to be pretty high. Don't do tight marking. You want it tight marking, but you want them to mark them tight in certain positions, but you want them to trigger press them because they're not always, you want to invite the pass out wide, but you don't want to be too far away. So I found tight marking didn't work in game at least, but in real life. So like you got to set all these. Obviously you want to set it. So you'd set it for these and you'd set it for these because we have the wingers doing it as well. So you'd pretty much be doing this for each, right? So that's kind of how you'd have it for each game. That's the automatic thing that happens every single time is going to be trigger press on them, and them. So that covers you if the team sets up any position for the opponent, you're set to cover them. You just need to make sure that you set the individual positions of those players. So you need to make sure that these 4 guys here are set to mark those players correctly. That's the one thing you got to be careful of. Now, those two are the same. The defenders in the middle are ball-playing defenders on defend with both tackle harder. Now, Stuttgart are known for not giving away a lot of fouls around the penalty area, but they are very aggressive and do attempt a lot of tackles. And so to make sure they do attempt a lot of tackles, I have tackle harder on. I found that if I didn't, they wouldn't put in enough tackles, so I have that on. If you do see issues, stay on feet on, because they'll stop. They'll slow down the intensity, but you can do that to help with those issues there. On the right side, this is your Silas role, labeling role. This is winger on support. We don't want them always crossing from the byline because they will cross from certain earlier areas. So that's why we get further forward. Obviously, mark specific position. They're marking the fullback or the wing back, depending on which is there. And it depends however that's going to be, but then you have them get further forward so that they get into these higher areas because you'll see them stay high and wide a lot more. Whereas these guys will turn into kind of like staggered lines where this person's higher and this guy's tucked in a little more. So you'll see that happen. So if he stays high and wide, he offers that ability in those wide areas, which is what you want to see. That's what he is. The center mid on support role. This is a I'm sorry, I can't remember this guy's names. Karazor. So Atkan Karazor. This is his role. He's very, very good. He's kind of like a box to box, but not really. He doesn't do that much, but he helps out more defensively, which is why I have a center mid on support role. on, just because if you see, he's industrious and versatile link between the defense and the attack. Expected to perform a variety of tasks across the center of the pitch, as a central midfielder benefits from having tactical awareness and technical ability to support both defense and attacking play as needed. The central midfielder will look to judiciously balance his attacking and defensive responsibilities. He will get forward when necessary, but will maintain and keep the center of the pitch and attempt to thread passes to players in the final third. And that's exactly actually what we want. Like, describes his role perfectly in this team. And if you take a look at him, of why he's so perfect for this role, you can see his mentals are mental. Teamwork, positioning, concentration, composure, anticipation, aggression, bravery, work rate. I mean, everything is just insane mentally. They're so good. Off the ball is a 12, which could be a little better, but everything here is so good. He likes to dictate tempo as well, so we want him sitting a little deeper too. He is perfect for this role. He is perfect at all these things, and he's just incredible at it, and that's why he plays that role, and that's why I have it, because he's given much of a free roam kind of license. We talked about this earlier, and I repeat myself, I know. He's given a lot of that free roam ability, and you can see it when you watch. He will pop up on the left, on the right. He'll pop up in so many places, out the edge of the box, and he really does a lot of that stuff. So this is Stiller's role. So Angelo Stiller is where he plays. Tackle harder, as he does. He does like to dribble more. This is one of the annoying things. So he is a deep-lying playmaker on defend. This is kind of his role that he tends to play for the team where he positions himself. But he also does like to dribble a little more, and you can't do that annoyingly. Now, if you put him on support, right, it technically keeps it the same, and you can say dribble more, but I found that when I did that, it didn't work as well. He stayed higher up the pitch. He didn't sit as deep. So I have it on deep-lying playmaker on defend because I found it positioned him better. But he doesn't dribble more. So if you can find a player that has like dribbles with the ball, it can help a bit. Because if you look at him, he's got a lot of the great attributes for it. But it just he doesn't go forwards. But as you can see though, likes to dictate tempo, likes to play both feet, tries long range passes. It's perfect for what he wants, and it's an exact replica of how he plays in real life. So that's his role. Deep-lying playmaker on defend with tackle harder. Fulreich, or I can't pronounce his name right. Chris, on this side, inverted winger on attack. You see him drive into these areas a lot. He'll sit kind of more in this area when he plays because Stiller drops deeper in, so there's a little more room for him to go, while Karazor sits a little more like this area, so it's not as easy. But you can see the rotations. Obviously, we talked about this, but you can see the rotations high and wide there, more in this center area because he's wider and higher. He drops in more, meaning there's more space here, which he is in that there. So that's his role. He's the inverted winger on attack. He's got sit narrower, obviously mark specific position to mark the wingback or the fullback, dribble more, cut inside of the ball, and get further forward. You could, if you wanted to, put more direct passing, but he does like to play short passes as well. And I felt that if you put this on, he lost the ball a little too much, and it was always kind of finding the direct pass, where they do like to possess more. They're willing to take the time and possess the ball a little more. Now, the Dennis Undav role, the advanced forward on attack. You're going to be like, hey, RPJ, what are you talking about? Undav is the guy that plays as the 10. I know. But if you watch them, when he plays as the 10, one in build-up, he drops in a lot. He doesn't really drop in. He starts there defensively, but he comes forward, and Guirassy is actually the one that drops in a lot. You'll see Guirassy playing more in the 10 role and Undav going beyond him. So as much as it is a 4-2-3-1, it really is a 4-4-2 more often. That's what it looks like, the shape. That's much more of what the shape is and much more how the team identifies and how I feel the team looks. I think it looks much more like a 4-4-2 in the mid-block and in the attacking phase much more often than it does as a 4-2-3-1. It does look like both in-game. If you watch, you'll see both shapes appear. But it looks so much more of that 4-4-2 that I feel this is the much better feel to do it this way. Now, he is the advanced forward on attack, moving to channels. You will see him literally just kind of go beyond Guirassy or kind of level with him and shift into one of these two channels. You will see it constantly happen. He does that a lot. And then Guirassy will drop in, which is why he's a clean forward on support. No additional instructions. This is because he does everything we're asking for of this role. He holds up the ball. He takes more risks with his passing. He moves into the channels, and he does roam from his position. This is everything we want to see from Guirassy. He also looks to push the line forwards and do stuff like that. And it's just perfect. I don't know. It's the exact role we want from Guirassy. It does everything right in terms of how we're looking for it. And it's the perfect role. He'll drop in and find pockets of space to play passes with. He'll also sit higher and push the line up, and it's perfect. And I mean, it's honestly the most perfect role for Guirassy. It is exactly how we want it. if you look, he did brilliantly. Like, the dude played this role a ton, or complete for the entire time, and got incredible ratings. Like, he did so well. He averaged what? He came off injured, so he missed some time with an injury. But besides that, he had tons of games where he had high ratings, right? So did really, really well throughout the season. He played 29 games, 7.15 rating. It's fantastic. So he did brilliant for the team, did really, really good. I mean, World Cup qualifiers was great. But Deepak Patel, 6.9, 28 games, 7.16. So just brilliant, in my opinion. And he did so well in that role. So you can just, it's perfect for him. He does everything right in terms of what you need. Dropping in, helping out possession, pushing the line high, being an option, and being that big target man, which you need as well. So he's perfect for him. It's a perfect fit. Now, the team plays on a positive mentality. I would suggest going to balanced at times when you're playing against bigger teams. Again, I've tested this just on the tactic itself, the one I put out, so it doesn't change, but I would say you got to adjust that at times. The team, it has no instructions except two, which is play out of defense and shorter passing. They play with, as we talked about before, very high tempo and very low tempo at times. So it's hard to say and set them to one thing. That's why I left in the middle, because it's perfect for that. They don't always like to dribble. Not every player does. It's more individualized. They will take shots from distance, but they will also work the ball into the box, and they will cross. They do all of these things. They're pretty reliant on crosses, but they're also reliant on shots from distances and stuff. So it's, again, like, it's a mix of these things. The fullbacks really don't ever really overlap, but they don't always go down the wings. They sometimes do, they sometimes don't. They do like to pass into space, but they don't always pass into space. They don't always hit the direct ball. So there's so much there, but they tend to pass it shorter more than not, and they can be direct at times, so you can kind of put it on this, but I felt when it was on this, they didn't retain possession as much, so that's why it's on shorter. The attacking width is standard because certain players sit wider, certain ones don't. Because of that, we have it individually set. In transition, they will sometimes go long, but they take short kicks, distribute to the center backs. That's what we want to see. That's usually what they will do, and they slow it down. That's the best. This is the only time that I can adjust the tempo in this area, which is that one I was talking about. They slow it down a lot when in possession in their own half. They take their time. They do not rush it. They let for the opposition to come onto them. They let them bring their line higher. They let them create openings where they can then exploit space in behind, or if the team sits off, they can build out and let them move and pull themselves out of position to adjust to Stuttgart's players moving around. You'll see it happen where the right winger will drift over to the left side of the pitch to help pick up the ball, or the 10 will drift all the way over to the left and play a different role and do something like that, which changes things completely. Now, they do counter, but they don't always counter. And they don't counter press. They do. It's, again, these are things where they sometimes do, they sometimes don't. These are things that are more specifically based off certain things, and I don't always want to add them because this means they'll always counter press. This means they'll always counter, and I don't want them to always do those things. They don't. They sometimes do, and they sometimes don't. And that's kind of the issue with this tactic is that they sometimes do things and they sometimes don't do other things. Now, this is perfect in my opinion, though. This is the mid block. They have a slightly higher line of the mid block. They don't sit it as deep like this. They have some more compression between the lines, which is why I have it on higher. They trap outside, heavily trap outside. You will see them push lots of bodies around to make sure the ball goes out wide. They do not want it back in the middle. It is very much a no-no, which is why you don't see them committing many fouls around their box, because the ball is usually out wide when they're defending. So that's that. Much more often on the trigger press, no additional things besides trap outside, and then mid block with a higher defensive line. So that is the Stuttgart tactic. I obviously took my time explaining as I usually do, but that's it. That's the intricacies of it. We'll talk, obviously, we talked the tactics and all that stuff beforehand. It's, I think, pretty good one. It's not the greatest version of it in the world, but, you know, I don't think this is a tactic and a style that can be perfectly replicated to FM. I think there's too many times where there's just positional fluidity in the way players do stuff with this team that don't work particularly the right ways into FM. And that's the thing I think this year is a trend of, is that very fluid-based teams, very much relationism-based teams do not work in FM. FM is so heavily positional-based that it does not work well when you come up with a manager that has a mix of these two principles, because the tactics struggle to have those ones. It's just like the Leverkusen tactic. You cannot create some of those roles where the team shifts from the 3-back to the 4-back. It just doesn't work. And that's the unfortunate thing, where there's another tactic in my mind that does not work because it cannot be properly transmitted between the two mediums. So It's unfortunate because I like them. I think they're really cool. I really enjoyed. And again, like I'm doing these things on these managers, I'm learning so much more about them, which I really didn't before, and I'm loving that. So it's great. It's brilliant. I think he's a really cool manager and some of the ideas, and I like the way the team's playing. They're fun to watch. They're enjoyable to watch. They're direct in some ways, but they take their time and build. Like there's a lot of cool things. There's a lot for everyone to enjoy about this team. If you're a footballing purist and you want that direct football aimed at a big man up top, they have it. If you want that possession based, they have it as well. So really good team. I really enjoyed watching them. I suggest you do. Tactics not 100% perfect. I don't think it's possible to totally create it, but I think it's pretty close in terms of what you could get for Hoeneß's team. Yeah, it's kind of the best you can get. So roll the outro, talk about what's coming next, and yeah, let's get that going. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching another tactic video. I know it's not the most perfect recreation, but again, it's the same issue. Relationism tactics or fluid tactics do not translate that well to FM. When you have roam from position and things like that, it becomes very heavily reliant on the players, and you can't always select those things. It doesn't work the best. So you gotta find the wins where you can. I don't think this one translated the best. I don't think it was perfect, but I think I got a lot of the elements down, and you can see it when the team plays. You can see the 2-4-4, you can see the mid-block work, you can see the stuff with Guirassy and Undav. You can see a lot of it, which is great. It's just there's slight things that I don't think are possible to get in terms of the way the team builds and offers certain things that you can do. And I think especially the mid-block struggles because the game doesn't work right. It just doesn't mesh right with the system. Though I will say also, this is a team that is very much team dependent. Each opponent they face, they adjust for that opponent with slight changes in their style. So another thing to look at. That's another thing I think that hurts this team, especially Hoeneß likes to adjust those things too. So slight changes here and there that need to be done differently, but that's how it goes. Not everything's going to be that perfect combination of everything. But yeah. The next tactic coming up is going to be the Vasco da Gama tactic. We're going to go back to Brazil. Seems like we're going between Europe and Brazil and America, kind of the three, the United States of America, Brazil, and Europe tend to be the three areas we go between. Nothing else really so far. So head to South America for next week. We got Vasco da Gama on Tuesday, and we have Brazil/Sao Paulo coming on the 25th. That is for Ramon Diaz of Vasco da Gama and Dorville Jr. for Brazil and Sao Paulo. I'm going to try to do a little bit of both. We'll see which it works for. He's been out of job for Sao Paulo for a little bit, so I don't know if that's going to be as smart of an idea, but we'll see how that goes for the two. So hopefully you guys are excited for that. I had a white shirt on trying to mirror Stuttgart. It's my Cruz Azul shirt, not as perfect, but some elements of the South American ideas in there somewhere with that jersey on. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If you did like, remember to hit the like button and hit subscribe, and then hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. And yeah, I'll be sure to catch you guys in the next one where we take a look at Vasco da Gama and their head coach Ramon Diaz.